Hello and welcome back to the Conversations with Cacao podcast. I am your host, Alexandra Gabrielle, and today we have the honor of being joined by Malarie of My Conscious Birth. Malarie is an occupational therapist from Long Island, New York, now living on the Emerald Coast of Florida with her husband and 4 beautiful children. She has been a licensed OT for 13 years, working with a wide range of clients from pediatrics to women's pelvic health. Certified in somatic healing modalities, she also supports families as a birth and postpartum doula through her company, My Conscious Birth. Cacao has been a profound ally on her journey, gifting her the power of her own intuition during a difficult transition, deepening her connection to the elements that carried her through the darkness. Malarie's passion for empowering women through their most sacred rites of passage, combined with her foundation in OT and experience supporting the mother-baby dyad, allows her to bring a unique and deeply nurturing perspective to her work and her community. And she is a dear, dear friend of mine. Malarie has been with the Conversations with Cacao family from the very beginning, so it is such an honor to have her here, to have seen her growth and her journey from when we started a few years ago now, and to be at this moment together sharing this conversation is something deeply, deeply special. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Let's dive in and welcome Malarie. Welcome back to the Conversations with Cacao podcast. Today I am joined by Malarie D'Amico. She is the creator and founder of My Conscious Birth, and she will be joining us today sharing about her own relationship with cacao and whatever else unfolds here today. So as we begin settling into our space, settling into our bodies, and again, just taking this time to find our center, to create space for yourself, to cultivate some deep listening, to receive insights or inspirations that arise. And in order for us to begin to practice that deep listening, we need to have some stillness within us. So here in this beginning opening practice, just allowing your breath to begin to expand, becoming deeper, exhaling a little bit longer than you usually would, and breathing in past your chest all the way down into your belly, finding those deep belly breaths, and exhaling, allowing the exhale to be a little bit longer than is maybe comfortable. As you empty out, breathing into your belly and feeling the spaciousness that comes with this deep inhalation, followed by that long exhalation, allowing your thoughts to release through your breath, and breathing in more spaciousness, more softness, and more presence, and allowing your breath now to return to any way that feels most supportive to you. And from this space of expansion, of connection to our own heart, just envisioning our feet have these little trap doors in them, and they open up, and anything that no longer serves begins to flow out of our feet. And imagining that there are these beautiful roots that begin to unfurl from our feet, connecting all the way down to the earth, flowing through all of the layers of soil until they find the heart of Mother Earth. Feeling her energy as this deep and supportive embrace to nourish your roots. feeling the energy that she provides as this beautiful foundation to receive, to rest, and to be nourished. And allowing this energy to flow all the way up your roots, all the way up, filling your feet, filling your legs, filling your knees, filling your upper legs and your hips, feeling your perineum and your root chakra, moving this energy up into your sacral, all the way up into your solar plexus and into your heart space. And from this space, rooting our heart all the way up through our crown to the heart of the sky, feeling this connection and the elongation of our spine as we open our crown to the light of the sun, of the moon, of the stars, of the cosmic wisdom. Feeling your connection to all things. And allowing this energy to begin to flow down, this energy of light and love, of connection, of support, of joy, of wisdom, of clear seeing, clear-sightedness, and allowing this energy to flow into your crown, into the light-sensitive parts of your brain, activating these spaces within your brain, flowing into your eyes so that you may see clearly, flowing into your ears so that you may hear clearly, and flowing all the way down through your throat, cleansing and clearing any spaces where we hold on to words that might not be supportive towards us. And we may say towards ourselves or others that maybe don't feel so good. So just allowing them to flow away and this light to begin to clear and cleanse, flowing into our shoulders, our arms, our hands, all the way down through our chest and into our heart. And if you want, flowing this energy all the way down through the rest of your body, through your torso, your legs, and your feet. And just for a moment, feeling this connection to the heart of the earth, feeling this connection to the heart of the sky, and feeling the connection to your heart center right here, the space that we get to practice and play with today, the energy of Mama Cacao that supports exercising this beautiful intuition, this sacred center within us. Breathing into our heart space, exhaling all around our heart, breathing into our heart space, exhaling all around our heart. And allowing ourselves very gently, opening the eyes to bring our cup of cacao into our hands, placing it right by our heart, and feeling our heart beating into our cup. Feeling the information of our energy, of our body, of our breath, of the blood pumping through us, and that this rhythm begins to inform our cup. Trusting in energy, and trusting that the energy and information that is shared beyond levels that we can even understand with the conscious mind actually do affect one another. And allowing from the space of open-heartedness, this love to pour into our cup as we give thanks to the heart of the earth, giving thanks to the heart of the sky, we give thanks to the heart of the waters, and we give thanks to the heart of the fire. We give thanks to the four winds that we breathe and the four directions that hold us in every moment, to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. We give thanks to the heart of ether, and we give thanks to the heart of the void. We give thanks to the guardians and protectors of our lands and the guardians and protectors of the lands from which our cacao has traveled, blessing each and every person, each and every being, each and every insect, animal, and element that has supported this cacao's growth. And may all of the people and animals know themselves as blessed, from the people who harvested to the cacao, to the people who prepared it, who shipped it, who delivered it to your door, and blessing the hands that are holding this cup right now, giving thanks to our maternal lineage and giving thanks to our paternal lineage, giving thanks to our ancestors, past, present, and future. Giving thanks to all of the energies that are in existence, all that ever were and all that ever will be. And we give thanks to the heart of Mama Cacao, this beautiful plant medicine here to guide us today. Here to teach us about her as we connect with the sacred medicine, allowing us to use her in a good way, connecting our voices and our interconnection, empowering ourselves throughout all this globe, and just imagining all of the listeners here right now that we're in this bubble of energy together. And you can sense and feel the other people in this call and just beaming them love, beaming them joy, beaming them gratitude, and feeling the connection. And then feeling all of the past listeners and beaming them love, beaming them gratitude and joy. And envisioning all of the future listeners as well, and beaming them love and gratitude. And feeling yourself receiving from the past listeners and from the present listeners and from the future listeners. This web that we're weaving, this conscious grid of joy, of connection, and taking a deep breath in, finding your intention in your breath in your body, and then breathing it into your cup. Allowing your intention to be revealed to you, possibly as you listen today, or for your day, for your week, or just for this cup in this moment in time. And gently coming back into the space as we give space for beautiful Malarie to share her voice. And if you have an intention for this call that you would like to share,
I would love to hear it. Thank you. And thank you so much for that. Again, as always, I feel more calm. Before we hopped on the call, my heart was beating out of my chest. And the intention that I received was just to be open. To just be open. That it's not hard to be open and to be yourself and to be authentic when you're just going with the flow. And so that was my intention, was to be open and flow.
So beautiful. I love that. And it's very similar to my intention too that I received, which is like really open listening. Open listening is what I received. So a reflection there. Cheers. I'll take my first sip too. So good. So it is such an honor to have you here today, to be having this conversation. And if you would like to introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, what you do, and how you came to work with Cacao.
So my name is Malarie D'Amico. I'm an occupational therapist by trade, and I've been working here in the Florida Panhandle for maybe about a year. I've been working in pelvic health. So that's been my focus now, is everything women's health. I'm also a childbirth doula and postpartum doula, so I serve families here on the Panhandle as well. But I don't do as much doula work now, as I'm like really focusing on the pelvic health, and that's taking up, a lot of my brain. Taking up a lot of my brain, a lot of my energy, but oh my gosh, it's been a really amazing transition into this new workspace, because it's bridging my worlds. It kind of takes the physicality of treating, body disorders, but also incorporating like the spirit element, incorporating breathwork, incorporating mindfulness. And so it's been a really beautiful bridge, but I've been busy.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about what, how did you call it, pelvic therapist?
Yeah, so I'm a pelvic floor occupational therapist currently. And so that is where we deal with all dysfunctional muscle movements of the pelvis. So your muscles can be really tight, causing pain disorders, or they can be weak and loose, causing storage issues like bladder and bowel. And so there's a really wide range of issues that we deal with, but that like birth is involved, sexual health is involved. Of course, I mentioned bladder and bowel, but these things, these issues that women, primarily women, men too, of course, but primarily women are dealing with, they don't know that there is treatment for it. Like most of the women that come in are like, I thought, I thought this was just normal after you have a baby. This is just what it is, that I would just have pain forever, or that I would just be leaking forever. And being a part of this world now, I see how quickly the turnaround is, like how like you can heal from these things. Oh my God. And as an OT, like to see such quick results has been super validating. Don't you love when what you do works? So that's been really beautiful. But the biggest thing is the transformation in the women that we see. It's so cool to see when they first come in, and then when they leave, that they have these tools of how to breathe and regulate their nervous system. And so they're not holding tension in their bodies and their muscles, because they know how to offload that energy. And so that's been so cool.
Yeah, that sounds really rewarding and like really needed work, especially here in the United States. I feel like there isn't that much information after, or really support after childbirth. I gave birth to my daughter in Germany, and part of the healthcare system at that time, I know it's changed since then, was you have at least 6 to 8 weeks of restorative gymnastics that is already paid for by your health insurance. So it's you learn how to, and it was, I was a dancer before I had my baby, and I like to work out, and I was doing sit-ups, and my midwife was like, no sit-ups. You have to do cross lateral sit-ups. You have to make sure that you're bringing your muscles together. And I was like, wow, women need to have this information after giving birth to a child. And that was just one thing that stood out to me of, oh wow, there needs to be so much more education. And then moving back to the States, seeing there really is a gap. Do you see that as well for you?
Definitely. I mean, there's definitely a gap. There's such a gap. Women go in for their 6-week postpartum visit to their OB, and even sometimes midwives too, but midwives are generally more attentive to caring for the woman postpartum. But they'll go to their appointment and just get like the quick once over. Yep, nothing looks infected. Yeah, swelling's gone down. You're good to go. You can go have sex, right? And then they just like, see you later after 6 weeks. And then like half the women are like not even close to wanting to have sex. Like sex, like that's the last thing on my mind right now. Like I'm drowning. I can't get out of bed in the morning. I want to throw my baby across the room, but you're good to go. Everything looks fine. So much is missing from that, in that time period. And so, yeah, for sure, I see that. That's why I love when we have these women come in freshly postpartum knowing about pelvic floor therapy. I always ask, like, where did you hear? Where did you hear of us? Who referred you? Because, oh my God, like those are the doctors and midwives that actually have the knowledge of the fact that women need major support postpartum most of the time. We don't really get tons of support from family. We live very separate lives. And so that postpartum time can be super lonely and physically challenging and demanding. So, I mean, yes, we can compare to so many other countries. We are so far behind, so far behind. We just like send mothers to the wolves. But that's why these groups, conversations with Cacao, I mean, women's circles, like any group that brings women together where you can talk to crones and maidens and mothers all in the same space and actually learn from each other and support each other, that's what's missing. And so I love making even that more mainstream, that women come together and speak real deep, like uncomfortable truths together, is so important. But yeah, I think that's what's missing, is just the time to recover, to really recover.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, I'm going to just let that sit for a second. Yeah. Time to recover. That's what we need. That space, the spaciousness. It's not always go, 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 hustle, hustle. I would love to know how you came to find cacao. I'm not actually sure I know this story exactly, so I'm
Oh,
excited to hear it.
cacao. Cacao has so changed my life. And as a matter of fact, when I see clients, one of the first things I recommend to them is to swap their coffee for cacao and ceremonial cacao. And I give them the links of my favorites because and I'll tell the story. So I found cacao because I knew you from our homeschooling group back in New York and working closely with you at that special school that we used to work at. And so I knew of you. And then so I followed you online and saw that you were offering these virtual cacao circles. And actually at that time, I think it was the Elements course. I don't even know if I came to a circle the first time or if it was a course of yours
Yeah, I
or a
think it was the
workshop.
Four Agreements. Yeah,
Oh, it was the Four Agreements. And so I had just recently moved from New York to Florida. And that move it was intentional, but it was a rushed move that felt urgent. It was not a peaceful transition it wasn't a fun, exciting adventure to move. It was like we have to switch our situation up and we got to go. And so we left New York and left everybody I know. Everyone I know. Everyone lives in New York. My family does not disperse. They're all there in that same spot. And here we are, we're going somewhere else. And so when we landed here, I was just, after the first few months of excitement and exploration wears off, I was so depressed. Like, my grandmother had just died too. So that summer, on top of the fact that I was depressed and missing everybody, my grandma died. And I was just like, I don't even have friends. Like, I'm just here. And I would just lay down in my bed. How many minutes are we in? We're 10 minutes in. I'm going to start crying already. Okay. Welcome. This is me. This is who I am. I would just lay there and go to sleep and just be staring at like my wall, my bedroom wall, and be like, this wall is in Navarre, Florida. And everybody I know is 1,000 miles away. And here I am staring at these walls that are so far away from, like, it was just the physicality of me being so far and being like, oh my God. And I bought this house. This is like permanent. I'm not going back. It's not a vacation. The thoughts would run through my head. Kids are going to grow up. And here I am here. My kids are going to grow up without their grandparents and their cousins. That was the way I grew up, was everybody was together and close. And so it's funny jumping back into that mindset, right? So now I'm like, oh, I so wish I had that. And I do, I really do. I wish everybody would just come. But at that time, I knew that I needed to do something. I'm like, I'm not going back. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. And they're going to listen to this. My in-laws literally followed us to Florida, and they are my family, and they kept me alive. I have to say that. Yes, they did come with us, and they kept me alive. But I needed something sacred. And I think that was probably what I said to you when I first was like, hey, I'm so happy to be joining this class, but just, like, I'm not in a good way. And I actually I think I need this. And I didn't even know what cacao was or anything about it, but I was like, she's putting out this workshop and I'm going to do it. That sounds like I can put my mind to something besides the dishes and the laundry and the distance. And so I'm going to do it, this class. And I said, I just need something sacred. I need connection. I don't feel like myself. And when I was separated from my family, it was really apparent that I didn't actually know anything about myself. What do I like to do? I don't know. If I have free time, what would I fill it with? I don't know. If I'm not visiting with people or putting out fires or listening to this one's issues and trying to fix that, who the fuck am I? Oh, can I curse? Maybe not. But And that was where I was at. And so when I came into that circle and you just started with this like deep connecting meditation to the self, it was like I like cracked wide open. I'm like sipping this delicious chocolate drink. Like, what did I stumble upon? This is the best. And the cacao, I mean, just right away just gives you that feeling of like deep comfort and love. And so pairing that with your blessings, and I mean, it's different every circle you go to, but your circles in particular, the way that you bless us truly, it just connected me back to myself. And what cacao did in connecting me to myself was really bringing back the instinct. That's not the word that I'm looking for, but it brought back my own internal voice, my voice. So like if I have a question and I can just close my eyes and listen, like now I can hear my own voice instead of like, what would this one say? And that one, and that one, and that one, right? Everything from the external. It was like, no, crack your heart open and just listen. There's answers in there. And yeah, I guess that's the long way of saying how cacao has radically changed my life. But the other thing was that not only is it like this, of course, heart medicine that brought me back to my own heart, it physically, the magnesium in it radically transformed everything about my body, my metabolism, my energy, that I even after a circle would want to get up and do like movement and like do a yoga practice. And because I was like buzzing with this possibilities, buzzing with energy. And so, I mean, just on every level, physically, spiritually, emotionally, it's changed everything. And so I'm grateful, really grateful.
Well, thank you for sharing your journey and your story, and the vulnerability in that is so beautiful. I didn't know parts of that, so it's beautiful to hear all of those reflections and to see you over these past years, you know, seeing your life transform little by little from the lens of the screen, but just knowing the radiance that you just pour through and the excitement and all the things that you started from your own desire and passion. And now, what kind of community do you have after 2 years of being down there?
After digging through the heart space and opening myself up and crumbling her down and picking her back up, I decided that I would start my own circle, my own sisterhood circle. And so I just one day after, again, buzzing from energy of like, you even mentioned it, through the lens of these little screens, right? Because this is all virtual. This is all virtual. It's so genuine. It doesn't even matter that it's through the screen because it's connecting here to yourself. So it's that facilitation is I know you so well. Like I just, it's so funny. Like, doesn't matter that it's virtual, but I did decide to say, okay, I'm going to do this in person. Let's go get some friends. And I just, on Facebook, I just popped it in. If anybody wants to meet me under the full moon tonight for a sisterhood circle, I'm going to be there. Click. And I had like 10 people respond, and they came to the first circle. And holy, like, you want to talk about, I just kept seeing them walking by and coming, and I'm like, oh my God. I called them in, and here they are. I would have never done that. Put it that way. Never in a million years. I was the kind of person who had I'm one of five, so I have my siblings, and then I have my cousins, and those are my friends. And then I have like 2 friends besides that. And so I didn't need to go out and make friends or meet new people or have new conversation. I've also been with my husband since we were 16. I haven't had this long dating history where you're like interviewing friends essentially. So I would have never done this. And like, it just felt so easy. Like, that's all it took. Put the friggin' invitation out there, and then here they are. Here they came. Malarie, it's that easy. Like, what was this restriction you were putting on yourself? It was like a tether. And I love that word that you use that word, like these tethers and cordings and chains, like all that imagery. It's like it burst. So I saw these people coming, sitting down at circle. It was like, like ropes popping, like in that fable, right, where the mice are chewing at the ropes and whoop, whoop, the rope popping off. And I just realized that I've been holding myself back in a lot of areas of life. And so, yeah, so I have a beautiful moon circle that meets every month. Every month is like a couple of people that come every time, and then we have new people sprinkle in all the time. And my thing is that basically I'm going to be there no matter what, every full moon. I've had to cancel one time because of torrential rains. But other than that, I'm going to be there whether anybody shows up or not. And that was the other thing. I've had a few months where there were no participants past me, and a little bit of me had that little, oh God, like nobody came. Oh my God. But then I thought to myself, well, you started this to just take this time for yourself. So here you are. Let's pray. Let's drink cacao and look at the ocean, right? So I'm showing up again, circling back, I'm showing up for me. I'm putting my, self at an importance level. The group is not just for other people to come. It's for me. And so, all those things have, just fallen into place really beautifully. And so that's cool. Those have been like some of my closest friends too, are my moon circle ladies. So it's really, really cool. And I would have never done that if it wasn't for conversations with Cacao, because it was the months of that kind of preparation that, you're capable of things. You're capable of this. And I did it.
Yes, I know. It's so amazing.
And now I'm holding classes too. So this next week, I'm starting a somatic healing course. Like it's kind of a movement class, like how you would go to Pilates or yoga. But this is like deep work. This is like, let's get into the central nervous system. And so I'm holding classes for women to come and move together. Again, I would have never done that. Never. So, it's been nothing but new things for me over here.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful. And what keeps on coming back as you speak that is your readiness. You prepared yourself. You said you would never be able to do that before. Yeah, because you weren't ready. You had all those chains and those beliefs and those other voices. And it was going through that process of what I thought was so beautiful of you recognizing, oh wait, what's my voice? And that journey, I feel like a lot of listeners can relate to that. I know I can relate to that too. That space of, wait, what's actually my voice? We're so used to just having all of the input from what you should do, or asking mom for advice, or asking your best friend for advice, or whatever it is. If there's any part of that journey for you that really helped you through clarifying and practices that you use to really identify, oh wait, this is me.
Oh my gosh, yes. I would love to share them because I want to share them far and wide. I think everybody should be doing these things to connect with that voice inside. And like that voice inside, what even is that voice inside? When you hear the voice inside, what quality is it? What's the tone of voice? What are the words that come out? What are the quality of the thoughts? So just tuning in and meditating and breathing deeply. That's the most basic thing that I turn to just like slow everything down. So if the kids are overstimulating me, and I'm very sensitive to like being overstimulated, I learned that about myself. Wouldn't have really known that until I was at my wit's end and realized I can't take any more sensory stimulation or I'm going to blow. And I was yelling all the time because it was just. And so that, of course, quiet breathing, just coming back to a calm place before the words leave my mouth. The 4 agreements help me with that. That is a big one. Okay, right. Coming back to the voice. The other big practice that I hope everybody tries at least once is mirror work. So just sitting yourself down in front of a big mirror. I use a really big floor-length mirror, so I see my whole body and I just sit in front of it. But I guess you could do a small mirror too, but make yourself big, right? You want to see everything. You want to be able to move your body and be able to see yourself. But just that quiet practice of staring at myself without my eyes closed and just looking into my own eyes and trying to find myself. And like looking into her eyes and saying, what's going on with you right now? Like, what is it? Talking to her as if she was Tala, my daughter. How would I speak to her? But like usually I look at myself and it's very fleeting, or you'll fix your hair, I'll do my makeup, and then it's very surface level and I'm gone. But when you just stare into your own eyes and you literally ask your heart questions, like, what is it? What do you need? Because you would prompt us with those kind of things. Like, well, ask, like, what is it? What do you need? Because I was quick to always just have an answer for something like, no, I can't do that. Or I wish I could do that. I just wish I could do that. Or I should be doing this. And you'd be like, what do you actually need? If you could have it right now, what would it be? And so when you look at yourself in the mirror deeply into your eyes and ask those questions, you get answers. But first, before the answers come, before the voice comes, the tears come, right? Like the breakdown comes, and the self, you can pick yourself apart a little bit. That comes first too. But then after you're done picking yourself apart and looking at all the things you don't like, you just stay there and you keep on staring. Let the tears fall and then let them dry and just keep on staring. And then what happens is I softened up. It was like, oh, there you are. Oh, doesn't that feel better? I would like rub my own hair. I would braid my hair in that time, just like kind of massage my face instead of picking it apart. There you are. Oh my God, like that was the most transformational thing that I did, like on my own time, I guess I would say, for healing. That mirror work then of just looking into my eyes and being there for myself and asking myself the questions that I might have bounced off of friends or family. Then I started to hear my own voice, my own answers. This is what you need. And this is how you get it. And so the answers started to come. But I mean, I don't think I would have been able to like listen to the answers I got if I didn't release all those tethers and restrictions. They're like, no, you can change some things, Mal. You like, I know it seems like everything is rigid, but there's a lot of flexibility here. You can make time for this. There was always no time to work out, no time to do yoga, no time to meditate. I would get out of bed and then start breakfast for all the people who are so hungry. They're starving. They need breakfast now. So I would get out of bed and start breakfast and then start chores. And then I was like, no, from now on, they'll eat a piece of fruit and you're going to sit in front of this mirror every morning for an hour. And that is what I did. And it was radical. I know that seems radical, but that's what I did. And they learned that they could come in and out, but that I'm doing this now. And I'll be there. Of course, we're going to make breakfast together, but have your fruit if you're hungry. And guess what? They were fine. They did just that. And they learned that this was my time. And now Tala comes in and does it with me. And Ember will come in and dance with me. So that mirror time, where it started with just breakdowns every day, has turned into like, that's when I do my movement and our dance, and we dance in the mirror. But the main thing is that we're connecting with ourselves, like deeply connecting. I'll tell her, like, look into your eyes. And then now she does. She looks at herself so, and she'll say things to herself. And I'm just like, whoa, I'm like modeling these things for her. And she's actually doing it. God, this is the shit that changes the world. Like, I wish that I knew to do that as a little kid. And now I'm learning it at 30, how old am I? 36, 37. But it's not too late to learn. So,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, those have been some of my practices.
So beautiful and so powerful. And there's one thing you said that just like, it's like I'm like, you got to go back to that. And it was so beautiful. You said, look into your eyes until you find yourself. And my soul knows exactly what you mean in that. But if you could find a way to explore that and elaborate a little bit more to what does that actually mean? What does it feel like when you see yourself in the mirror? How is that for you? Like, when do you know that it's like, all right, that's me? I finally got myself.
Yeah, because it's actually very clear. There's a clear delineation. You know that you finally see yourself because you actually feel a visceral, it's almost like the ultimate exhale. And like I said, I remember the feelings of dried tears on my cheeks. So it's like the tears would come so hot. And even that, I would like focus on the sensation of like, just let them fall. It's good. These tears are supposed to be falling. And then they dry. And then your face feels a little crinkly. And then I just exhale. And like for me, that's the moment. Because then I realized that like, oh, I look softer now. After I let the tears out, it's like, you look softer and you look more innocent and you look more vulnerable and you don't look like look at these lines that I have. This is me all the time. I do. I have this look. I've got an intense look. The Moors have this and it's an intense look. But when I relax it and I just massage myself, I know like, oh, there's that little girl. Like she's soft. She does not have to be so pop, 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 pop. There you are. It's like returning to, I guess, a younger self. But like that, like the inner wild child that doesn't actually go away. Like there she is. But you have to soften first. You have to let go of those ties and crack the shell away and let the tears fall. Let the ugly cry come out. Let it come out. And then when it's done and you don't have any energy left because it all left you, oh, there I am. Okay. We can do this. We got this. Whatever happens, like, are the kids safe? Yeah, they're safe. Whatever happens today happens. What is a list of things to do? Everyone's safe and happy and loved and fed. Like, there's no danger here. That's it. Like, once you're, like, that's how you know you found her. When you have that feeling that I'm not being chased anymore, I can just rest. It's like back to that innocence of childhood. You know, it's like, oh, we got this. I can make it through. And so, yeah, I do. I picture her like a younger me.
I can feel that. And the word trust was coming up. And I can't remember what, just before I hopped on the call, I misheard something and I heard trust now. It was like, and I kind of giggled about it. It was like, oh, trust now. On my bracelet today, my mantra is trust, that came up. And I think there's a really beautiful, well, I don't know if it's synchronicity or just the pattern in your experience of working through this. I found what my relaxed nervous system feels like. I moved out of fight or flight or freeze. And wow, this is what it feels like to not be in perpetual stress. I can breathe deeper, and of course that relates back to your work in the pelvic area, right?
Yeah.
Work with childbirth, work with the hips, with the pelvis and the root, right? The root coming back to safety, back to trust. And okay, I'm not sure where the question's going with this.
I feel the direction.
Okay, cool. Take it.
I feel the direction. I feel what you're laying down. I'm following it. And that's an energy thing, that like holding energy, holding tension in the womb space. I mean, that is a big deal when you learn how to move that energy from the womb, from the root, from the perineum, and you know how to move it through your body and then ultimately out, whether it's down and out or up and out, whichever your body is needing. That energy for women gets trapped in the womb because it's our creative center. It's where we create life. It's where our inherent physiological purpose lies. And so when we have blockages there, tension there, I mean, sometimes it's physical, like you feel physical pain. So women have a pain with sex or pain to the touch or painful urination, or maybe they're urinating all the time. All these things are signs of overactive, tight, tense muscles, compressed nerves, right? Like all those like kind of restrictive conditions that we think of. Those women all have one thing in common. They are very stressed. They're anxious. They have a long list of things to be done. They're bosses, powerful, moms, you name it. Anything power, women in power have this issue that comes up a lot, and it's tension stuck in the womb that blocks creativity. Then when you're not being creative, creating new things, creating things that come from your heart. So like, it doesn't necessarily have to be art, right? It doesn't have to be music or poetry, but creating anything. That's the first thing to go. It's like, I don't create anything. I don't do things for fun, because it's like, oh, you can't, like that center is blocked. So when you move that energy out, it opens up so much space, like physical space in the musculature, that then the nerves can breathe again. Now they can communicate properly. Oh, the muscles let go. Now I don't have that pain in my lower back that has been causing more tension, right? The pain tension cycle goes and goes. So when you learn how to move that, like all these things like let go, and then now I want to go have fun again. I want to go meet my friends. I want to go to paint and sip or whatever. I want to go see some live music, and then that comes back, and then the anxiety lessens. So you see how it's all totally connected, this holistic view of a person. You can't just look at muscles and say, here's how to release them, and then you're good to go. No, we need to release the muscles physically, of course, but then let's learn how to breathe. Let's learn how to close the eyes and listen to the heart. What do you need? Now I hear myself saying the things that you said to me, but what is it now, right now, that you would need? And then it's just getting them to even understand that they have answers within their own heart. And so I guess like I'm really marrying the two things very seamlessly, because they go together. And now I've seen like physical proof of it, that like when this is relaxed and when we do have control over our central nervous system, essentially is what it is. You know, you're controlling how your organs respond based on your breath. And of course your movement and the way you move your body and the way you show up here on this earth. So when you move it out, the whole world opens up. You let go of these emotional things that have been holding you down, because they can just flow out with the energy, with the physical energy is what I mean.
Yeah. And the physical captures the emotional energy within the body. So when we're moving our body, we're actually physically releasing the emotions in that sense too, from what I understand from like somatic experiencing, and the things that I've done with that too, is that our body literally traps memories in our tissue.
You can go even further and say like it traps your ancestors' traumas as well, if you want to like dive into epigenetics, which I am not an expert in, so I will not even remotely dive into epigenetics, but I believe and I've seen and felt that you can heal generational wounds by doing this work for yourself. And I see it in my daughter, in the way she looks at herself in the mirror. And she's 6. She's the wisest woman I know. So it's like, let's not squash that wisdom out of her. I want to learn from her. I want to become more of a wild child, because that's where I feel more free. That's where I feel more happy. I interrupted you about epigenetics. That's where I was going with that.
No, it helped me find. I like lost my train of thought, so it helped me come back to it. I remember when my daughter was born. She's now 10, but I was like, wow, the massive amount of trust that this baby, that we are just all born with. She's asleep in my arms, and yeah, sleeping like a baby is just like complete trust. I know that I'm taken care of. I know that I'm going to be fed. I know I'm being held, and it's all good. I can just completely let go and sleep in that deep, deep way in somebody's arms. That hit me so hard when I would just hold her and she'd be asleep, and I'm like, that trust is so innate and natural to our being and being human, and how it's slowly and little by little trained out of us. And the connection to that root, moving out of survival. So now we have the creative energy to actually express, and the power of that. And I did not know that peeing that much was related to stress, because I'm notoriously, it's like, you have to pee all the time. I'm like, I drink a lot of water. Like, I always thought it was because of that, but
listen, we'll talk after this. So we'll do a little deep dive.
Yeah.
I'll help you out.
So very fascinating, interesting.
But you just like when you were saying about like your baby girl in your arms, like being held and trusting, I've had those moments too, because again, this is my healing journey, which again, there's no end. That's why I wear this spiral every day. Healing journey. What does that even mean? Everything's going to come back around again. But another tool was being held by the earth. So I, at that time, by your guidance, would spend more time just actually going out in the backyard, having my cacao out there in the grass and just grounding, facing the sun, letting the sun just like beam into my eyes, like all this kind of like natural elemental work that I did. And that was the phrase that would always come to me. It's like, oh, I'm so held. Like you are held. You are held. And you're held by the mother. You're held by the Mother Earth. And in that energy, you're held by your mother. And in that energy, you're held by grandmother. Like it's just all one continuous thing. And here I am sitting on the earth as she takes my energy and makes me feel calm and relaxed. She makes me feel like I'm not going to spin out, right? When I can really just ground myself into the earth, I just feel so held. And that's that trust. That made me feel so much better. Trusting that like, no, you are just here on the earth. Yes, it's a different place, but here you are. You're not up there. You're not spinning out. Everything still makes sense because here you are, held, safe and sound. And like that came to me when you mentioned like holding and trust, because that was another big one. It's like, yeah, I'm held. I'm held in every moment, actually, no matter where I am.
As you speak, I feel like my nervous system is resetting. Just like I feel more calm. Oh yeah, I remember these things too. Like
Yes.
even though we do this work all the time too, like day to day stuff, I am not a master of being completely calm and trusting in every moment. I admit it. And I think that as you were speaking too, it kind of illuminated another layer that I wasn't quite aware of. Yeah, we have the trust and then the acceptance. And for me, maybe for other listeners too, is the acceptance of just being on earth. I feel like it's constantly pushing against and feeling the energy of push against, push against. And if we're constantly pushing against something, we're constantly activating resistance to something. And usually that's an indicator of no, stay away, fear, whatever that is. So that stress keeps going because we want to keep that at bay. And fully relaxing, being fully here means full acceptance of what is. And sometimes that's like really crunchy. There are certain things in my life right now I don't want to be embraced by that. I don't want to fully accept it. I don't want to fully trust it. And it feels that energy of like just push it away. Push it. Don't lean into it. But that's the medicine. Breathe through the fear. I already feel my breath also starting to get more shallow. It starts to raise up. And
Yes.
okay, breathe down deep. Breathe deeper.
One of the first things that we go over, especially in pelvic floor, like when people come to see me, I always start with their capacity to take a breath. Like just breathe. So even before getting into the fancy breath that releases the muscles and all the fancy tricks that we can teach you, let's just breathe deeply. And so I always start with just like teaching a body scan and teaching what it feels like to breathe deeply and to go through each part and say like, is there any stressful segments that I am aware of, or am I not aware of my tension? You know, because usually sometimes you can't feel it. You don't even realize that you're holding so much tension. But I'll say, let's take a big deep breath, and it ends here. And that's it. That was the breath, that short little breath. And I'm like, oh, I think you have more than that. Let's try again. And then we come to find that their rib muscles are actually tense and they're not expanding. So tension can even stop you from taking full expansive breaths where you're really oxygenating your body, those breaths that are healing. And we're walking around shallow all day. That really shallow breath does not oxygenate you. It doesn't blow off the CO2. It doesn't blow off the waste. So if you take that awareness and just focus on breathing really slowly and opening, and breathing into the belly, like how we say, like, of course your air is not going into your belly, but what's happening is you're relaxing your belly muscles. So that way, when the pressure comes in, the belly puffs out. And then when you breathe out, Breathe out really long, long. Keep breathing out until you have nothing left, right? Get it all out. Everything that's stagnant, everything that doesn't belong, keep going. And that is such a challenge for a lot of women. Just long and slow breaths is a challenge because of what we do to ourselves. We put these tethers around us. Society does it. And I always hear that society does it. That nobody taught us. We do it to ourselves. Because you can break free of it with this work. It's not easy. But these are restrictions we put on ourselves, that we have to be here at this time. We have to be at that obligation. We have to say yes to that party. We have to help the neighbor, whatever the frig it is. Like you really can just be like, that doesn't work for me right now. But that realization doesn't come until you give yourself the time to let it come. We don't give ourselves the time to breathe slowly and just listen to our own thoughts. There's no time. We get up and we go. And then we complain about how sore we are.
And how little time we have.
I know, it's wild. And so, no, we have to move past that and remember that we're just as important as all the other things. You told me that I was the sieve with all the holes poked out. And it was like, oh my God, once I had that imagery of like, start plugging up those holes. What do you need right now? Life-changing. Life-changing. So, I mean, where was I even going with that? I don't know, but that's where my thought process flowed.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it brings back to me too, one of the pivotal points in my journey of self-discovery, knowing myself, knowing thyself, is that the concept of empty, just being empty, and how hard that was in the very beginning, how much I would resist it. And it's constantly so much input. We're constantly consuming. If it's not food, beverage, thoughts, we're constantly stimulated. What other thing can I think about? Don't be quiet. Listening to music, media, reading, like all podcasts, even all of it, just consuming in an attempt not to be empty, not to hear what's really going on. And that space of just that breath too, of like breathing out. For a while, I did the Wim Hof breathing method, and it's so like, good. So be good. Empty, for 2 minutes, and then see what comes up, and just feel how good it feels to actually, wow, okay, I don't need to be full and overstimulated all the time. Emptiness and spaciousness actually feels pretty good, and just allowing that space to really, like you were saying, empty out. What are the thoughts that are not mine? Do I actually want to be listening or inputting this information in my body? And a big part for me too is just addiction to keep on moving, addiction to work. I had like 5 to 8 jobs at one point, working 80 hours a week as a single mom, which is like insane. And then COVID happened. So bam, everything had to stop. Then noticing the addiction to, I want to move, I want to go, I want to think something, I want to eat something. And not that I was compulsively eating a lot, but just recognizing for a while I was using cacao. Like I couldn't show up to any call without a cup of something. I do so many online ceremonies or meetings. I just had to have something to consume. Until one meeting I had, and I was like, you know what? My body doesn't want that. It just wants water. And it felt so vulnerable just showing up with a glass of water and not some sort of tea or cacao or like Blue Lotus tea that would help my third eye or, something that was stimulating or inputting more information in some way. And just holding that cup of water and just being here with this water, it felt so vulnerable. I felt so naked. Like I could just show up just like me, like this. Oh,
it's like hard, almost like you were disconnecting that, like, this isn't the magical thing, it's me. And you listening that it was like hydration that your cells needed. That's the ultimate respecting your vessel, yourself. That's what this body needs. This body doesn't need expansion this way or expansion this way. I need to deeply nourish in a different way. And that is vulnerable. It's almost like, right, because like that's the thing. This is why we gather. But no, the real reason why we gather is the connection. And I can do that without the safety blanket. Yeah. That is the thing. Mm-hmm. That, talk about leveling up. That's like level up. Here I am, just me.
And realizing what are our safety blankets now. I have to think about it. What is my safety blanket now? Probably procrastination, I would say. Not acting and doing the things I need to do. Yeah. And then how do we just strip that away? I remember it was really, oh yeah, okay. So it's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I never wanted to read that book because the title always turned me off. I thought it was like
it's so like technical. Driven. Yeah. Tactical is the word I'm thinking of.
Right. Yeah, and it felt very sterile, and it always kind of repulsed me from reading it. And finally I did, and it's a very beautiful, actually really deeply spiritual book as well, connecting in with these beautiful aspects of just interconnection and humanity and being more compassionate and loving. I have to look this up, which one it is. Is it Sharpen Your Whip? Now I'm actually not sure what it is. Okay, I might need to edit this part out.
This is why we have this.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say is like getting rid of your best weapon. You can put that to the side and see, what am I left with? What do I need to strengthen within me? Okay, it was sharpening the saw. And I'm not sure if it really relates back to what I'm trying to say. Okay, I lost it a little bit. But getting rid of these safety blankets that we have that keep us from knowing ourselves and really recognizing and being vulnerable and honest, really honest enough to see, oh wait, actually this isn't serving. And what you were saying, like, what do I really need right now? Is this really what my soul, what my body, what my mind needs right now?
Yeah. And like in that time especially when I was like forming the moon circle and like kind of putting myself out there for the first time as like okay, I live here now. And so I guess I'll make some community happen. That time period felt very, like the phrase that for me helped me get through was the chop wood, carry water, like chop wood, carry water. And so when I first had that moon circle, that was what I kind of started with, was knowing that since I was starting this community, it was like a blank slate. Like they don't know me, they don't know anything about me. And so like you have the opportunity to just start a new friendship from scratch. Like what does that even look like? All my friends were from school. They were kind of built in, but became a part of me, of course. But like this is totally new. And so gathering with them and then just deciding that, okay, the person I'm going to be is a vulnerable, truthful me. That's it. Like I didn't put anything on it. It's like I'm not a specialist in these things. I'm not a spiritual guru. That was like one of the things when I gathered everybody. I was like, I'm just a person looking for sisterhood. Like I will make mistakes. I don't know everything. I'm not a teacher of this, right? Like I'm not an expert. I'm not an ancient medicine woman. I don't have that knowledge. I'm actually a seeker. Like I'm learning all of that now. And like pieces are coming back to me, and pieces are very natural to me. So I know that it's deep in my lineage, all this magical stuff. I obviously feel it very deeply in my bones. I've been making potions since I was like 2 years old, so like that's a thing. But it was like, who are you going to be if you could be anybody? And it's like, just truthful. I want deep connection. So I'm not going to I don't waste my time with fluff anymore. Like I don't just get together with people because we both like basketball. I don't know. I hate basketball. Like something, right? Like one of those mutual things. It's like, if you want to be my friend, I'm going to ask you deep questions because at this stage in my life, that's who I'm calling in. Like not drama, not, people who talk behind each other's backs and that kind of like, what's the word? Thick energy of like forced friendships, almost like, yeah, we get together, but she's like, I don't really like her that much. Like, no, I don't waste my time there anymore. And by doing that, by choosing to be just a vulnerable, truthful person, I've had like the most deep relationships and the most fulfilling relationships come in. Where if you're having like a real issue, like you just get wisdom from these women. And these are just regular women from the community. But I called in the type of people who were looking for that same type of connection. And so, like I said before, there they were. But I was able to decide, you know, anybody can decide at any point to radically change their life. Like you're not just stuck in the situation that you're in, no matter how hopeless it seems. Like you're really not, but it's really uncomfortable to get through it. And that's the problem. That's not a problem. That's not the right word. That's what keeps us back. So what keeps us from doing it is the discomfort. So when we can be in the discomfort of changing, of doing new things, of doing like doing this podcast, my heart was thumping out of my chest, right? But like I feel more comfortable now because it's like, it's not a big deal. We put these things in our head like it's like we have to perform through life, and it's just not like that, you know? Yeah, it's freeing. It's really freeing to come to that conclusion.
I love that you said you can change at any point. If you're stuck, it's your decision too to come out of that. And this is something that I grapple with a lot, where I guess it's kind of like the chicken or the egg scenario, where it's that the impetus to change has to come from the inner drive, the inner will to actually activate and choose that decision. So it's like, is it the external factor that drives that? Or is it the inner willpower? And where does that willpower come from? I'm not sure if you have any answers.
That willpower, I actually do, because I do very strongly, I had an answer to that right away, is that the willpower comes from being deeply in the dark, like going on walkabout. We don't go on walkabout here in America. It's not something that we do. We're not really, you know, like for me, my particular situation, I just lived my life based on what should happen next. This is what you do. Those are the steps. You get the grades, and then you do the thing, and you go to college, and then you meet these people, and then you get a job, and you go to your job until you're too old to do it, and then good luck from there, right? And then when all that shifted, when it was like, woo, pick up and start somewhere totally fresh, the identity was gone. The whole trajectory, the whole plan, the who am I was there. And then that was dark, that was heavy, that was hopeless, that was scary. And that was where the willpower came from. Being low, being sad. So I feel like people who are in the depths of the sadness, it's like, God, you can do this, because at any time you can make that distinction to calm down the system and recognize that no matter where I am, even if I'm alone, I'm with myself always. I'm held by the earth. I'm safe. If, of course, you are physically safe. And if you're not physically safe, you need sisterhood and someone to rally you so that we can get you safe, right? And so that's the other part of it, not feeling like you're ever alone, because you're really not. I don't remember the beginning of that sentence, but it seems like a conclusion.
Yeah. Last night we just watched Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim, wrote the music and lyrics to it. And there's a really beautiful piece in it. The words are, "You are not alone." When you feel alone, but you are never alone. You are not alone. And the connection that even when you feel like you're alone, just zooming out. And it's so hard to do when we're in that really dark space, just allowing, and I always feel like, just the littlest bit of willingness. Like I would say, all right, I'm willing to feel not alone. No, too close. Like I'm willing to feel willing. All right, not still too close. I'm willing to feel willing to feel willing. No, and then I'd go back until finally it feels like, all right, I'm willing to feel willing to feel willing to feel willing to feel willing to do something about this. Okay, cool. All right, I got the littlest bit of willingness there. And with that teensiest bit of willingness, it just opens the possibility that is there to come in. That practice has really shifted my reality in my life of just, okay, admitting the honesty of, no, I'm not actually willing to do this, but I could be willing to be willing. No, I'm not willing. And then, take it to the level that you need to for you.
Even starting like the class that I'm doing in it's in a few days. It's on the 10th. I've been sitting on that for so long. I've been doing this practice for a long time. And when I do it, I'm like, I want to share this with people. Like this would be fun. Not only is it powerful and transformational, like this is cool. This should be an option for people. And I was still sitting on it because I was not ready to feel worthy of being the facilitator of that information. Because of course I didn't invent it. But even that was a restriction that I put on myself. People are not going around just inventing the wheel, right? Like every day. Like, of course, we're sharing what we know from our own stories and taking information that we've learned from other masters and other wise people. And then we put it into practice and then we teach it. I was so averse to that. Like, I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified until I realize I am qualified. Yes, you are. Yes, you are qualified. And then, but that is just a mental thing. It's a restriction. It's an energy, like you were talking about, like pushing it away. Like, I'm not ready for that. Even though like you could do it, I could do it. I just wasn't ready to. And then one day it was just like, this is it. Pick the date on the calendar. Just do it. You're doing it because this is enough sitting on it now. Just by sitting on it more and pushing it off more, you're solidifying that idea that you can't. And fuck that. Because I'm really good at it and it works. And so they need me. Is that self-centered to say? People probably would say, oh, they need you. Yeah, they do. Because my story is very unique to me. And so I share it. Just like the women in my circle come with their own unique story that they don't think is going to help anybody, but then they share it and you have like 5 people in tears saying, that's me too. And then everyone walks away feeling held and loved and connected. So like, yeah, my story and seen. Yes. Like, I see you. Thank you for sharing that, like really, really seeing people and hearing their stories and knowing that you should teach that. Everyone should hear that story. Your story is not smaller than somebody else's just because they wrote books, because they had the access to share that information. Your story is just as important, which is why I love podcasts so much, because I just love listening to people. Puts people on the same level, Stories are important, and everyone's story is.
Deeply. The power of, and the sorry. 10 tabs open in my brain of like what I want to touch on next.
I know, I'm making like little notes like on my thing. I do the same thing.
The power of storytelling. And I almost brought it in earlier because this is coming in now of the healing power of stories, being able to go through that journey and see yourself reflected as the hero or the heroine, or seeing the arc and the catharsis of moving through that journey and then returning home. And the power of telling our own stories. When we come back to the 4 agreements again, what stories are we telling ourselves? Are we using our voice impeccably? Are we actually speaking our truth? Are the stories we telling ourselves, are they assumptions or are they reality? And how are we actually weaving our world to support the creation of what we really, really want? And how allowing more space, tying that breath back into breathing out what's actually here. Am I feeling alone? Okay, I am feeling alone. Just admitting that one step. And then recognizing I have a crossroads here, like any great hero or heroine. I'm at a crossroads. What do I choose? Which path do I take? Either one it's fine. It's a create your own journey. Like those adventure tales is the heroine choose in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And coming back to that power, the empowerment. I feel for me, that's something that Cacao has really taught me as well. Learning to listen to my voice, the connection of the hips, loosening the hips. I know we've done a lot of shaking too, and you're an advocate for shaking the lower hips.
It's the best.
The body.
Yeah.
Opening up that voice And I would love to know if there's any aspect too that cacao has illuminated anything specifically within your healing journey, how you use it, how you began to create your own ritual around cacao and these practices as well.
Always. My morning cacao is my time for reflection, of course, deep reflection and just quietude before the day starts, down to the ritual of it, like making it, chopping it, singing to it. Like preparing this space. I don't just sip it every morning. I make a ceremony with myself, just the ritual of it, of lighting my candle. I go through all the elements. I just do a really deep grounding gratitude session. From there, after the cacao marinates, I start to move my body. So then I start to move, and it usually is some kind of just like rotation or moving my hips or some kind of rocking. Turns into dancing, because of course I have a beautiful playlist playing, so always guided by music too. And then I just see what comes up, and I always have my book open next to me, so if something comes up, I'll like jot it down. Sometimes poems will come to me, like just like two phrases that feel really powerful or moving to me, and it's like, I gotta write that down, which then sometimes takes me back into the thinking brain. But at this point, I feel like it's really good. It's almost like a creative process to just let that flow out, let that come out of you. It's in that time that I drink my cacao in front of the mirror. So it's my mirror work session too. And I also know that I'm being deeply nourished because it's remineralizing my body. It's making the connections work better. The magnesium is making it so that all my connection points are connecting again, finally, when they weren't before. So now I can think clearly and just know that I'm getting that deep nourishment and I'm moving my body. I'll also check what the energy, the Mayan energy of the day is, but I do that after. So I don't check it first. I do it after to see if anything that I wrote like matches, and then because I love the synchronicity of like, it makes sense. And so that's been really cool too. So I do like to tie in like the wisdom with the, again, physical benefits of the cacao and my own heart medicine. I like to make sure that I'm honoring the wisdom behind this beautiful fruit. So I do check that, but it's mostly for like the synchronicity, because again, I'm not an expert at it. So I defer to you guys for that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that practice. That sounds really, really nourishing. And
It
one thing
is.
that stood out too is like actually allowing the cacao to nourish and allowing our food to nourish us and our water to hydrate us, and really intentionally consuming our food and our drinks with this acceptance of, I trust you. I trust you enough to release and allow you to remineralize. I trust you enough to nourish my body and spread through and oxygenate my lungs and do all the amazing things that cacao does for our bodies, and just the internal allowance. Somebody asked me a question recently about sometimes cacao can feel a little bit heavy in the stomach, and it feels like a block in the solar plexus or the gut of just allowing the medicine to be received. And of course, a dosage thing too, maybe drinking a little bit less. For anybody that's playing with that, maybe just really trusting, holding our bellies when we drink the cacao, like, okay, I let you in. I let myself feel, since this call and you are so focused on the lower, the
Yeah.
lower region.
I would say too, to like, if they are feeling that it feels heavy in the belly, I would say that before the cacao, then make sure that you're drinking water first, and salted water, Celtic sea salt, again, like adding some more minerals in there, getting your electrolytes right, and just having the water, and don't eat first. So you can't eat first. Because then I would imagine that it would feel heavy in your stomach, because it is very nutritionally dense, very, very nutritionally dense. It has fat, it has all the mineral. I mean, we could list 1,000 beautiful minerals that cacao has, but I would say the water and then the slow sipping of the cacao, and you won't get that heavy, heavy feeling. But I would imagine if you were pairing it like after a breakfast, or like if you're somebody who like drinks tea or coffee first, that caffeinated drink, you wouldn't want to do that first because that irritates the gut.
Yeah.
Right? We can get technical with it. And then, so that could give you that heavy feeling. So couple little things. But for me, I've never really felt that either. I've never felt heaviness. I've always just felt, it's the best thing I consume all day. I look forward to it every day. When it doesn't come in time, I'm like, oh, my cacao, I'm out. And I can feel the difference. But even when I'm out of the cacao now, because of cacao bringing me into this world of listening to my own heart and making the time for myself and prioritizing myself, I don't have to have it with me. I can just do my practices, just me, as I am, right? And then that's that other layer of like, okay, now I'm doing this thing. I can do this. I'm not relying on the safety blanket again. But it's just the best. I could sing her praises all day.
That is a really important part to remember, that we can always connect in with the energies no matter what. We don't have to physically have a cup of cacao here in order to connect with her spirit, connect with the energy. And that goes for any plant once we build that relationship too. I used to do that when I was working as a waitress, and sometimes I would bring cacao in and share it with the staff, and other times I was going from job to job, I didn't have it, or for whatever reason, and I would be there, I'm like, all right, Mama Cacao, I just need your energy for the shift. Please guide me. And I would call her into my water. I'd bless her and be like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And allow that energy to just support me even when I'm not physically drinking. And that's for the people who believe more in that spiritual aspect of the relationship that we have within our energy bodies and our spiritual bodies to the connection of plants. The Mayans believe that this is the fruit that not only supports the body and the mind, but it also nourishes the spirit. So we drink cacao for the nourishment of our spiritual body. And I think that's so beautiful, because we think about, of course, we're eating these foods to boost our brain power. We're eating these foods to boost our physical stamina and support our bodies. But are we ever like, oh, I need a food for my spirit right now?
Yes, exactly. And I think that is a part of the resistance, that when people hear that, they might be like, what? Like, well, okay, food for your spirit. But the whole conversation that we've already had, it's about being able to access that spirit because you're in a space of safety and openness and clarity. So now I can receive the messages from spirit, because what I receive in my own heart is the connection. That's it. Like, we are the portal, right? And I guess that could be just jumping into a whole nother 6-hour conversation. But that's the whole point, is that if you're not regulated, you're not going to have those messages come through, and you're not going to believe. You're going to say, that's crazy. Because all I hear when I'm quiet is, you suck, and you have this to do, and this is stupid, and these thoughts go through your head back and forth, because you didn't take the time yet to quiet that and let that pass. And then what's under that? What comes next? So it's like giving yourself the time to listen, and then that opens you up to that channel.
I'm curious. Okay, so how were you raised? What was your upbringing? What was your relationship to spirit as a child growing up?
Yeah, I'm from Long Island, New York, and we are a Catholic family, Roman Catholic. And I would not say that we were practicing Christians in any way. We didn't go to church. We would go to church sometimes on Christmas, like if we made it that year. But my dad or my mom would pray with us at night, so we would say our prayers. But I didn't really know what they meant. We would just recite them together. And then I would say like my own like little prayers of protection for people. God, please protect blah, blah, blah. Help them with this. They're having this issue, right? And I would have myself go to sleep that way. So I had that practice of speaking to God. We went to church for like communions, baptisms, weddings. Like I frequented our church, but we didn't like go to church. And we didn't read the Bible at home or anything like that. But my dad specifically always instilled in me, and like I've shared this, he would say like, I don't have to go to church. Like when we're out on the water, like we're beach people, we're boaters, we're at the ocean a lot. And it was like, when I'm surfing, I feel like that's when I'm in church, because I can really, really hear spirit there. And that always stuck with me because that's how I always felt. And then like when I met my husband, he was a little bit more religious in that way. Again, Catholic, these Italian-American Catholic family. They were more churchy. And he actually has a affinity for just learning theology. He loves it, and he's got an affinity for it. So he was more like involved like religiously. And I would try to always explain to him that I'm like, God is love. It's just, that's too complicated. Like, it's not any of that. Like, it's just, I just know that I don't need to go to church either. It's just, when I feel God, I know it. I've always had my own version of speaking to spirit, but I didn't have the words for it. I didn't have the vocabulary for it. I didn't have any wise women. They weren't passing down nuggets of wisdom. No, they were not. Love them to death, but we're on our own with a lot of stuff. But my parents always instilled that you can talk to God from any place, always. And so I did always have that, and I'm so, so grateful for that, because I take that over like an empty, here you go, make your, have this party for this religious milestone, and good for you, you're Catholic now. I never felt that. That always felt disingenuous to me. I never had to like away, because it was always just like, yeah, it's good, and it's good for you, and I love that for you, and yeah. I will just do my own thing. But I love God and I love Jesus so much, but I'll just do it my own way, and that's kind of how I've always been. Now I like dabble in like all the things, because all of the things are connected. That's where I land. I'm not religious in any shape or form, but deeply rooted on the earth and my own connection to the divine.
It's really beautiful that your parents had that connection, had that understanding of like God is everywhere, not just in church. Because I know a lot of people had a very different upbringing. I was one of them that I was a little half-half. My grandparents were very religious growing up and go to church every Sunday, and I have to go to church. I try and like hide in like the little cupboards, like, so I didn't have to go. I had to go to Sunday school, and listening to the sermons when I was little, that just fear instilled in that space. But my mom was always a little bit more, she got me out of Sunday school. I was like, I don't want to go anymore. And she's like, all right, let me talk to the grandparents and see what we can do. And she instilled more of that, I think, the energy of like, you can always talk to God. And so there's always, it's not just the church, the house that you're speaking within, that you have access. That's the gateway portal. Or the telephone to God, but it's everywhere. And I was curious, because I think depending on your upbringing, you have a very different relationship to how spirituality is developed, and your relationship to it, and whether or not it's accepted or thought of or conceived of.
That, like, my upbringing was not wrought with rules, religious rules and expectations, like not even close. I definitely had freedom in that. My parents never looked down at any belief. If we brought up some crazy idea, like, they listen, they hear it through, and then we have beautiful conversations. So I've always had that freedom of thought and belief. Yeah. I'm definitely grateful for that.
And I know you are doing a beautiful job with your family. And just to switch beats a little bit towards sharing about your journey as homeschooling, unschooling mama.
Yes. I mean, we're definitely, I guess you would label us unschoolers, but we use random curriculums here and there. Ever since I had Zephyr, when he was a baby, and even like, I guess more as like a toddler, but even just looking at him as a baby, I knew I was going to homeschool. I'm like, I just could never. I could never send him away. He's so perfect. And like, now I have 4 children who are at home with us all the time, and it is wild. It is a wild time. It's chaotic. There's a lot of work involved when kids are home all day. That means your house is messy all day. And so it could add, and for years it did add to how stressed I was all the time. And how much do I have to be completing? And what are the benchmarks? And, all that stuff. And then again, realizing that just slow down. You can homeschool any way you want to. There is no right way. And so I would invite those who are thinking about homeschooling, if you're not so sure and you don't, again, here's that problem again. I don't think I'm qualified to be a homeschool teacher. You're not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I just live my life with my kids. And when we learn things, we learn them together. Because here I am relearning things in my fourth grader's book. So like, how great was the school system, right? It's like we all can learn things at any time. We learn together. I don't have like a set way that we do it. We read together all the time. And like all my kids, I've gotten to notice that they all learn differently. I don't compare who should be reading at this level because of their age and comparing them to their siblings. Like they have the freedom to just be who they are without the stress of like, you're having trouble reading that. Well, now you have to go to extra help and now you get pulled aside. Because I know that two of my kids would definitely be struggling in the public school system without a doubt. And of course, there are great teachers. They are loving and great. But I know that they would be feeling stressed about leaving every day and about what they have to accomplish because they have difficulty with it. And so by homeschooling, we have that ability to actually manage their internal conflicts when they come up. So when they doubt their abilities, like we can, as parents, can love on them and like talk them through the problem, whatever they're working on, with patience and love and time that I know that they wouldn't get from somebody who, first of all, doesn't love them and who doesn't have the time because there are 20 other kids to work with. So I understand that restriction too. And I worked in the school system for a very long time. So that's really where I even came to that conclusion. And now I'm so grateful that I did, because my kids do have learning differences and it doesn't mean that they're not smart. And they know that. They've never even had the opportunity to think that they weren't, because they don't see their skills with limitations. Like they're just like, this is just what it is. This is my reading practice and this is what I read. Like whatever. Mm-hmm. They're not comparing themselves to a friend, And then of course we meet with our co-op to like chill and socialize. So like they play with their friends. So it's just been really beautiful and opens up our schedule to not be so stressed all the time that I have to have them ready every day. My God, I can't even imagine that. If I had to have them all ready to go somewhere by 7 a.m., there I go again. She'd be lost again. Yeah. Goodbye. So again, it's like a part of like managing, what do I even want out of this life? And what life do we want for them? And just going with the flow.
It's super beautiful and really admirable. You do a lot. You have a lot on your plate. Yeah. Just the expression of allowing children to find their own voice and learn at their own pace, being supported and loved. I'm listening to this book I mentioned the other day that it's called Mindset, and it's about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And there are so many studies done on kids and students in schools and also teachers of shaping them to be in the fixed mindset or the growth mindset, and then seeing how it affects the students and the teachers and the teacher's perspective of the students as well. It's just fascinating, really fascinating how praise, if you say, oh, you're so smart, even something like that, a simple statement of praising somebody's abilities in that sense, puts you in a fixed mindset. It determines and creates this identity for them to live within. And now they think, oh, this is who I am. If I don't show up in this way, I can't let anybody know that I'm not that. So if I try and I fail, then that shatters that illusion. So I might as well not try anymore. And then the fixed mindset actually brings you back to try less, to ask less questions, because you're trying to preserve this identity. And the most effective forms of praise, you got a really great score on this test. You must have worked really hard for that, or you must have really taken your time to understand the material. It's praising the effort rather than the outcome.
Right.
And guiding them to recognize that's not the outcome that is what is most important. It's the process along the way, enabling more flexibility around. It's okay to fail. It's okay to grow. It's okay to learn. It's okay to ask questions and get feedback and learn and take the hard feedback. And the interesting thing was the self-reflection of people who are in the fixed mindset usually have a less accurate view of self rather than people in the growth mindset. The people in the growth mindset are generally more able to identify their strengths and weaknesses accurately, their placement or the outcome of what they would produce. And people in a fixed mindset are generally quite inaccurate about that. And it just talks about like what we were talking about, the honesty towards self of how well do I really know myself? How am I challenging myself to actually get to know and see and feel and hear where I am? Am I able to question that and be okay and learn from that? And not, be crushed under the from this illusion of like, I'm trying to support this whole fallacy of who I am. If I don't keep on pretending to be this, then everything crumbles and just like, well, why don't I just see where I am? Really fascinating book.
It is. And like those like little definitive things like that you said put you in the fixer growth. This is really funny little anecdote. I just had like a memory pop into my head from probably kindergarten or first grade or something like that, where we were in a group and the teacher was calling on us to read the words that she was pointing to. And the word was city. Like I remember this. And I said kitty and everyone laughed at me. They laughed and they were like mean though. Like it was like, oh, did you not know that? Like it was, don't ever raise your hand again. Yeah. I will never be volunteering my voice again. Like I actually remember that being so embarrassing. And what the freaking makes fun of somebody for that? That's a hard word in first grade. But those are the moments that can just put that into your brain that whatever it is, maybe somebody makes fun of you singing one day as a little kid and then you don't want to sing anymore because you just, they hated that. And so now, boop, there goes that expression. There goes my love for learning because those kids made fun of me because I got it wrong. Now every time I have to read out loud, my heart is pumping out of my chest because what if I say a word wrong? Like those are the moments. So when we teach our kids that when that happens, let's let that move out of our body. Because you know what? That doesn't actually have to stay. All that was not you. That was those other kids, right? They must really feel like they have something going on in their life. So how do we get that out of our body? Because that wasn't really about us and how the way we were reading. And then we teach them those skills to shake it off, literally. That's why I homeschool. That's the reason. That's because of that fixed mindset that like, I don't want them to have these moments of that's not for me because somebody else said it wasn't for me or said I wasn't good at it.
Exactly.
Because you can relearn anything. You can try and try again. You could suck at something and then suck at it for 2 years, but the third year you start to get a little better. and then next thing you know, 20 years from now, you're an expert at it. So it's just, you can't hold yourself back like that. And this gives us the freedom to really be with our kids, to learn their ins and outs and learn them and what gets them going and what shuts them down.
It comes back to the connection of we have a visceral response. Our body feels it and then shuts down, or it creates a stress response in our body. And now we have things lodged in our hips. We have this energy lodged here because it's directly connected to our voice, to our throat, and allowing ourselves to identify the trauma that we've experienced, even light, in some cases very, very heavy, that it enables us to liberate our expression as well, liberate our voice, and just the beautiful work that you do of cultivating a home, growing, raising your children.
I am growing them.
With this growth mindset, yeah.
We are growing together, honestly, because I'm just moving into a growth mindset. I was very fixed. That was the whole thing. Now I'm in a growth mindset. I was not. I was very stagnant. Everything about me was stagnant energy. Very little momentum forward. It was always very, I like to feel safe and secure, and this feels good, and I'll do this forever because I am just fine here. I'm safe. Everything is predictable.
Yeah.
Security, home, right? That uprooting, what was so traumatizing for me, was being uprooted. But the power to sink your roots back down deep brought me back.
And really seeing like what you were rooted in. You need to take your roots out of there and be transplanted somewhere else to actually see like, oh wait, I was rooted in somebody else's beliefs all these years. Yeah. It's powerful medicine.
It is.
So I want to thank you for your time here and be mindful of your time, because I know we've been chatting for a while, and there are a few questions that I love to ask about the guests here. And one of them is, what do you feel is Cacao's mission at this time?
to connect us, to connect us first to our own hearts and our own purpose, and then to web out and connect us to more people, more experiences, and just realize that you can open and expand the heart. And when you do that, we can connect to so many other things. I don't even want to just say other people and community, because it's to things, to events, to objects. Like, you just open yourself up, and Cacao is such a beautiful ally in that in that opening process when it can be really scary. So she's a comfort and connection.
Yes. Ding to that. And another question that recently came into my experience that I love to ask is, what is your favorite thing about being human these days?
Ooh, that's a good question. My favorite thing about being human, is sinking deeply into my body and feeling how capable my body is to do anything, to go to new places. We've been seeing lots of new places lately, and I have the energy to do it. I feel strong, I feel healthy, and I feel very embodied. And so that is my favorite thing right now about being human, is this embodiment, being in this body here on this earth, exploring and doing new things without fear, knowing that this body is a strong body. This body does what this body was meant to do now. And yeah, being human is where it's at.
Love it. All right. So another tradition we started on this podcast is the previous guest leaves a blessing for the future guest, not knowing who it is. And at this moment, I'm still waiting on the blessing from our previous guest. So I am just going to bless you up with a placeholder blessing. And then I will send her blessing your way. But I just want to beam and fill you up with so much love and so much light and knowing. And it's just seeing you rooted down, that your roots grow stronger and more nourished, that your soils be fertile and lush, and that seeing the interconnection and the weaving of all of the network under the soil, the families that you're growing, the connections that you're making, may they be nourished so deeply. And as you continue to grow and become this beautiful vessel that you are, allowing your branches to unfurl to the sun to receive the nutrients and provide shade and bounty for everybody that comes your way, and beaming you with that mountain mama energy and the water ocean energy and that tree medicine, and just feeling yourself so held and embraced and nourished.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I feel that so deeply in my bones. Thank you. And thank you for truly facilitating that. And I know I've told you countless times how grateful I am for you and your guidance and your wisdom. I've been deeply changed and touched. And so thank you.
It has been an honor and a pleasure.
And so do I offer a blessing? Do I do it live on this, or do I send?
Do you do it live? Feel free to, and I will.
Sure. I'd love to. I'm going to send the blessing to you as well, but just to the future guest, I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for your story, and I hope that you know how special Miss Alexandra is and what she's creating. But that you have this conversation with an open heart, with an open mind, and that you really allow yourself to speak from within. So let that channel open, relax your muscles, relax the body, slow your breath, and just have a deep conversation from the heart.
Thank you. I will pass that along to our next guest. And I would just love to know if there's anything else you wish to share with our listeners.
You should definitely follow me on Instagram at My Conscious Birth. That's where I do most of the happenings. It's like I'm a little bit on Facebook, but it's just the worst. And so I really prefer Instagram. And so that's where you can find me. I'm hoping to have some digital offerings soon regarding the somatic healing. So stay tuned
An
for
eye.
that.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your magic, your presence, your energy. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So allowing ourselves to place one hand on our heart, one hand on our belly, if that is supportive to us, and coming back to the breath. And just let's take a big, deep breath in. Those big, nice, deep belly breaths. And we're just going to exhale out slow for as long as we can. Breathing in again. Feeling how the breath nourishes us as we integrate all of the wisdom, everything that we spoke about, this conversation that has stimulated new thought, new growth, maybe more questions, and allowing all of the energy, all of the input to just begin to settle. Settle in your heart, settle in your field, and allowing yourself to take what you need from this call, from our conversation together, and allowing your own wisdom to be churned inside of you. And this may help and support and be the fertilizer for your growth, for the way that you step into the world, for your connection to yourself. Allowing yourself to become even more present, consciously integrating. Feeling yourself grounded, awake, clear in your sight as we give thanks to the heart of the earth. We give thanks to the heart of the sky. We give thanks to the heart of the waters, and we give thanks to the heart of the fire. We give thanks to the four winds that we breathe and the four directions that hold us in every moment, to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. We give thanks to the heart of ether and to the heart of the void. We give thanks to all of our plant allies, our animal allies, our ancestral allies, our guides, our guardians, our protectors, and our friends. Everybody in our family, past, present, and future, to our current lineages, to our past lineages, to our etheric lineages. We give thanks to the guardians and protectors of our lands. We give thanks to all of those people in our community who support us, who are with us. And we give thanks to the heart of Mama Cacao, blessing the sacred plant, blessing all of the energies that be, ever were and ever will be. And so it is. Closing the energy here today. It is done, it is done, it is done, and it is fun, it is fun, it is fun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in today, for being a part of this conversation, for receiving and trusting us on this journey. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, that there was something in there for you that really nourished you, that sparked some inspiration or curiosity, that you were able to discover more about yourself and reflect a little bit deeper and interface with the world in a new and inspiring way. So if you have any questions for some of our previous guests, we are having our second panel call this Sunday, March 2nd. I hope you will join us. I invite you to join us. It is a beautiful time to connect with like-hearted community with Cacao. And if you want to register, head over to the Conversations with Cacao website. That is conversationswithcacao.com, or to our Instagram on our link tree. You can also register there. So I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, as you transition out of this portal of Conversations with Cacao, bringing with you the wisdom, bringing with you the inspiration that has churned during this conversation, and allowing it to flow into your life, allowing your own spirit to nurture and nourish those roots of yours, allowing your heart to awaken to all of the beauty that surrounds you, and allowing a little bit more of your magic to be embodied in the now. Because you are pure magic. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.